Why would we want to be wealthy? In his book, The Psychology of Money, Morgan Housel says that the highest form of wealth is the ability to wake up every morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. This struck a chord with me. I'm interested in the idea of fitness wealth, the dividend that exercise pays. I like the idea of wealth as freedom. Having put in the work for the past 5 years or so, I've built enough fitness wealth to wake up every morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. Do I want to do a jaunty 5K loop around the harbour for fun? What about a 24-hour cycling race to test my mettle? Some heavy lifting in the gym? Take up a new sport? I can do any of that because I have invested time and energy into my health, my fitness wealth, if you will.
Yeah, I find jaunty riding very useful. Quite boring, maybe, but
I think I'm fairly wealthy in this sense, but even a small amount of fitness wealth is very valuable. A small amount of fitness wealth means the ability to comfortably walk up the stairs when the elevator is broken. Gaining that ability is huge if you don't have it. A bit more means being able to play tag with your kids in the evening. That can be life-changing. A reasonable amount of fitness wealth means being able to socialize by joining a sports group, your local hiking, running, cycling, whatever club, the CrossFit box, the climbing hangar, or a gym where you become a regular. Or even just walking up the hill to do a sunset date with your partner. More still means having the strength to be functional in your life, your chosen activities, and new activities without fear of injury. Then there's completing bucket list items like running a marathon, doing an obstacle course race, doing an Ironman, climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. And finally, it's the ability to run your local park run on your 90th birthday, which is my ultimate life goal. That is what I'm investing in and saving for. I'm busy building enough wealth to meet that goal. In the book, Housel differentiates between being rich and being wealthy. He says, rich is current income. Someone driving a $100,000 car is almost certainly rich, because even if they purchase the car with debt, you need a certain level of income to afford the monthly payments. Same to those living in big homes. It's not hard to spot rich people. They often go out of their way to make themselves known. But wealth is hidden. It's income not spent. Wealth is an option not to be taken to buy something later. Its value lies in offering you options, flexibility, and growth to one day purchase more stuff than you could right now. There are, of course, wealthy people who also spend a lot of money on stuff. But even in those cases, what we see is their richness, not their wealth. We see the cars they choose to buy and perhaps the school they choose to send their kids to. We don't see the savings, retirement accounts, or investment portfolios. We see the homes they bought, not the homes they could have bought had they stretched themselves thin. In fitness terms, I think of rich as the races you do, the PBs you set, the adventures you go on. It's those sessions that take so long to recover from that you can't get a good fitness routine going for a week or two after them. These things are fun. It's what most of us think of when we think of fitness, and they can bring a lot of joy into your fitness life. Like Housel points out, when most people say they want to be a millionaire, what they actually mean is, I'd like to spend $1 million. And that is literally the opposite of being a millionaire, which is to have $1 million. I think we tend to judge our own and other people's fitness by looking at these big exercise expenses, because that's the information we have in front of us. We look at people doing amazing feats and gauge their fitness from appearances, medals, times, personal best, Instagram photos, YouTube videos. And it's good. I'm not advocating a lack of spending. What's the point of saving your whole life and never buying cool stuff? You should pursue your personal best, the bucket list item, the adventure of a lifetime. This spending is what gives, at least my fitness journey, meaning. It's motivating and fun. But I think there is a danger in taking your eye off wealth. So the value of wealth lies in offering you options, flexibility, and growth to one day spend more exercise richness than you could right now. The truth is that wealth is what you don't see. Fitness wealth is starting slow so that your tendons can adapt to the training load, catching up with your muscles that may already be capable of doing the work. It's the hours of Zone 2 training that is boring and unglamorous, purposely growing slower than you're capable of in order to get the right training stimulus. It's spending the time on efficient movement patterns to increase your economy and decrease the chance of tweaking something. It's working on tedious mobility exercises to address your weaknesses and injury-proof your body. It's the races and adventures you say no to so that you can be consistent enough in your training to complete the ones you say yes to. This, the bulk of the work of fitness, is the thing we don't see in Instagram posts and YouTube videos. The danger here is that I think most people deep down want to be wealthy, not rich. They want the freedom to be functional in their everyday lives and the flexibility to do things that require a base level of physical fitness. This is the freedom and flexibility that day-to-day training can give you. But it's so ingrained in us that to be fit is to win races and do cool things that we don't get to see the restraint it takes to actually be wealthy. I fall into this trap when assessing my own fitness. At the moment, progress feels frustratingly slow. By the numbers, my fitness is not improving. My marathon time is slower than I'd wanted. Replicating my cycling feats from last year takes more effort than I'd like. I'm not lifting as heavy as I did in the past. I don't actually pay enough attention to the boring things. That I've found a routine that's pleasurable enough that I follow it consistently and with ease. That I've addressed my muscle imbalances and I'm moving better than ever. That my feet are the strongest they've ever been. That I can balance on one leg. That my core is more stable than before. That I'm putting in the hours of aerobic grind I need to build a good base. I'm building wealth. And it's paying off. My first video on this channel is a version of the "I cycled 100 miles with no training" trend that you've probably seen on YouTube. Of course, no one cycles 100 miles or runs a marathon with no training. What we mean when we say we did no training is that we're drawing on our fitness wealth. We have the depth of fitness born of years and years of training that allows us to spend some of our energy doing a cool thing that is beyond our current training comfort zone. Similarly, I've just started rock climbing. While I'm definitely not good at it, my fitness wealth allows me to attempt something new with the confidence that I will improve and I can do so without injury. These are fantastic dividends. The absolute privilege of being able to wake up every morning and say, I can do whatever I want with my body today, cannot be overstated. It's easy to find role models that are showing off their fitness richness. They are all over YouTube and Instagram. It's harder to find role models who have built fitness wealth because by definition, their success is more hidden. When comparing yourself to others, it's important to remember that the world is filled with people who look modest but are actually wealthy, and people who look rich who live at the razor's edge of insolvency. There are people who put in the quiet, behind-the-scenes work to build fitness wealth, and people who spend all their fitness riches in their 20s, or who do one amazingly fast 21k run on very little training and then suffer from injuries for months. I'm not trying to say there's a right or a wrong way to do fitness, but the difference between fitness richness and fitness wealth can help you accurately assess your own fitness. Decide what dividends you want to receive from your exercise routine, and keep this distinction in mind when quickly judging others' success and setting your own goals. People are good at learning by imitation, but the hidden nature of wealth makes it hard to imitate others and learn from their ways. And since we can't see it, it's hard to learn about it. I'm still not sure that I know what fitness wealth is, given the lack of good role models out there. But I'll list the things that give me freedom, flexibility, and confidence. I spent some time brainstorming these and writing them out, and damn, they are not sexy, but I guess they are important. So here goes. Time. Time in the game just cannot be beaten. 3 years of imperfect training beats 6 months of perfect training every time. Just putting in the hours week after week, most weeks of the year produces mind-boggling compounding effects. I made a video comparing this type of training to the start of an ice age, which is a weird and probably useless metaphor, but something about the slow but powerful magnitude of it struck a chord with me. 2. Strength training. Working on getting healthy movement patterns going and then strengthening the muscles that support those patterns is one of those things that you'll never regret doing. I mean, you might regret it while you're doing it, because it's often a strange combination of painful and uncomfortable because you're working on your weaknesses, and very boring because you're working on small parts of the bigger picture. But it's just one of those things that has the biggest dividends because you can see the difference in your everyday life, not just in your sport or choice. 3. Progressive overload. Don't go too fast. Don't strain your tendons because they adapt slower than muscles do. Don't increase your training load by more than 10% a week. Go slow, but slowly do more, and more, and more. 4. Variety. I read a study that showed that most world-class athletes were sporty when they were young. They tried every other sport before settling on the one they were passionate about. Runners played football, tennis players did skiing, hockey players did taekwondo. The researchers had 2 theories about why this pattern played out. 1. These people got a bunch of complementary skills and strengths that decreased the chance of injury once they picked one sport to train intensively. And 2, these people didn't get burnt out by focusing single-mindedly on one thing. I think I would probably be richer at running if I stopped cycling, climbing, and lifting weights. And I'd probably set PBs and run faster. But I think I would lose running wealth because I might get injured more easily or lose the joy of it. At the moment, it's very easy for me to do exercise every day. If I'm not in the mood for running, I do a cycle instead. If it's raining and I don't want to cycle, I can go to the gym. If I'm tired and don't want to do heavy weights, I can do skill drills on the climbing wall. Whatever my vibe, I have a physical activity I can turn to. And this leads back to point number 1, time in the game. So as I continue to create content for this channel, I'm finding out why we see so much fitness richness out there. It's so much easier to find the story in a fantastic trip to Iceland than it is to find the story in my zone 2 cycle. And I think that's okay. I think we don't have to bore ourselves by focusing too much on fitness wealth. But I think it is important to have the distinction clear in your mind, especially when you're busy doing comparisons. And when you watch all of my videos about the cool things that I do in the future, remember that I paid the price for it. I put in the hours of boring. I built my fitness wealth so that I can spend it when I need to.